everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So this video is really fun to just reflect on the first half of the year and how your reading went, what books you liked, what books you didn't, stuff like that. I love these kinds of videos, so it was really fun to try to choose certain books. I definitely have multiple answers for some of these questions. At the time of filming this video, it's June 23rd, I think. I have read 77 books, and I'm in the middle of 2 books that I'll probably finish in the next couple days here. So that is incredible for me. I know last year I had an insane reading year where I read 100 more books in the year than I normally read. I've never broken the 100 book mark, read in a year, until 2020, which was awesome. And it seems that that is going to continue for this year because I'm already well on my way to reading over 100 books this year. I think I'll definitely be able to do it before the summer is over, so I'm really excited about that. But without further ado, let's get into the tag and the questions. So the first question just dives right in feet first. There's no holding back for this first question, and that is the best book that I've read so far in 2021. So I actually have 2 answers for that, and I think I'm going to have a really hard time at the end of the year choosing what is my number 1 book I read in 2021, because I literally couldn't decide between these 2 of what my favorite book was so far. And if you've been watching my channel since the beginning of the year, you could probably guess which 2 it is. But the first one is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I am a huge Sarah J. Maas fan, and I was super excited for this book to come out. A Court of Mist and Fury is my favorite book of all time, so I'm super attached to this series and these characters. But I loved this. This is definitely a new favorite of all time for me, and I think it only is coming second to A Court of Mist and Fury, but I loved this book so much. And then the next book that is one of the best books that I've read so far this year, like I said, I can't decide between the 2 because I love them both so much, but that is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I read this in 2 days, and as soon as I finished it, I immediately picked it back up again and read it again, and I annotated and tabbed it and underlined stuff, and I just had such a good time reading this, and I absolutely love the story, and I kind of want to do another reread of it again soon. But yeah, definitely one of the best books that I've read so far this year. Question 2 is the best sequel that I've read so far this year, and again, I have 2 answers for this. So the first one is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I loved this book so much more than the first one, and I loved the first one, but this book, I don't know. It just went so far above my expectations, and I loved everything about it. I read this for the first time earlier this year, and then I did a reread before the 3rd book came out, and this is still my favorite one in the series so far. I don't know, I guess I have a thing for second books, but this is definitely one of the best sequels that I've read. And the next answer is A Strange Hymn by Laura Thalassa. This is book 2 in the Bargainer series. The first book is Rhapsodic, and again, I have a thing for book 2 in a series. I don't know. I absolutely loved this story, and it did not suffer from the second book slump. I don't know what it is, but the second book in a series, you just are already familiar with the world and the characters and the plot. Oh man, it's just definitely one of the best sequels I read so far this year. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you definitely want to. And for that, I'm going to say Witch Shadow by Susan Dennard. I reread the Witchlands series in anticipation for this book. I have them right here. I don't know if they're in the frame, but I have them right here. I reread all of those this year in anticipation for Witch Shadow, which came out yesterday for me. And I'm not super in a fantasy mood right now, so I probably won't be picking it up until I'm in a fantasy mood again, because I don't want to taint the experience. But I definitely want to pick that one up, and that, like I said, was just released yesterday, so it's a pretty new release. Question 4 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have 3 anticipated releases for the second half of the year. The first one being Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This is coming out in July, so coming up pretty quickly here. I have read all 4 of Riley Sager's other books, and I've loved them all. I think they're great thrillers. I just think they're super quick to read, and I'm really, really excited for Survive the Night because I think it's going to have that same like spook factor to it. Then I'm also highly anticipating Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune last year, and it was one of my favorite books of last year. And this one seems like it's going to have the same sort of like whimsical, cheerful vibes. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm definitely highly anticipating that one. And then I'm also really excited for Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerri Maniscalco. I read Kingdom of the Wicked last year, and again, it was one of my favorite books of last year. And I just really like Kerri Maniscalco's writing, and I think that the like witchy fantasy themes in that first book really hooked me, so I'm definitely excited for that one to be released. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment so far this year, and I actually have 3 answers for this one, which is really sad. The first one is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. I was expecting this to be super witchy and have a lot of magical realism in it, and it just felt really flat for me. I mean, I know this is like a classic witchy book, like from the 90s, and I just think the movie does it better. Like, this just did not deliver for me. I was really bored for most of it. There was not a lot of like witchiness or magic for most of the book, and I just hyped it up so much because I was expecting it to be super witchy, and it just wasn't. So I was very disappointed in this one. The movie's definitely better. My next disappointing read, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I picked this up. I was so hyped for this one for such a long time. Chloe from Books with Chloe read it for one of her 24-hour readathon vlogs, and she was crying, and she was like, oh, it's incredible, 5 out of 5. And it made me so curious to read and see what it was about because I had no idea what it was about. I know it has a TV show, a Hulu show, which I've heard so many good things about, and I did not like this. I read it for a 24-hour readathon vlog, which I can leave linked up where you can see my like live reactions of reading this, but I found this to be an incredibly frustrating book, and I was annoyed for most of it. I have heard that with this book, you either get it or you don't, and I don't get it. I mean, I get why people would like it, but that is just not for me. I just don't. I thought it was really depressing. Very disappointed. And then the next book, I actually haven't finished it yet. I'm over halfway through it, but I'm already disappointed in it. And that's The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I just don't understand how this book got so hyped. I am 460 pages into it. It's like an 800-page book. So I don't know if this can count because I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know if it's going to get better, but honestly, I'm 460 pages in, over halfway, and I'm so bored. I don't get why this is so hyped. Maybe it'll get better in the second half, and I'll have to like, I don't know, put a card in here saying like, I regret putting this on there, but I'm just so disappointed with this. I was so hyped for this, and I put it on a 5-star prediction, and there's just no way that it's going to be a 5-star if I'm bored over halfway through the book. Like, it could get incredible for the second half, but that would only redeem it enough to give it a 4-star because 460 pages of boredom does not equal a 5-star read. Sorry. So I'm pretty sad about that one. Very disappointed. The next question is the biggest surprise that you've read so far this year. And for this one, I'm going with Credence by Penelope Douglas. I picked this up for Romanceathon because one of the prompts was read a book out of your comfort zone. And I was just like on a super big Penelope Douglas binge. I still am. But this follows Tiernan, who both her parents died by suicide. And so she is just shy of turning 18. And so she's dealing with a lot of stuff, but then her last surviving relative, her step-uncle, reaches out and is like, hey, you could come live with us until you turn 18 or not. It's up to you. And she's like, no, I want to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be all by myself and depressed. So I'll live with you, whatever. And it's a romance that develops between the 3 guys that she's living with, her step-uncle and his 2 sons. And so it's kind of taboo. Like, they never grew up together, like, in that familial way. So they're basically strangers to her. and they're not related by blood or anything, but still it was a little out of my comfort zone just to read from that. And the book follows 3 love interests, and you don't really like find out who her love interest is. Like as you're reading, you're like, who's she gonna end up with? Like she could end up with any of the 3. And usually I like just one love interest, but I was so surprised by how much I loved this. And it packs an emotional punch along with the romance and the smutty scenes. And yeah, it was out of my comfort zone and I ended up loving it. Question 7 is a new favorite author, either new to you or a debut. And for me, it's going to be a new to me author, and that is Penelope Douglas. Who could have guessed? I have been binging her books for a little while now, and I've loved every single one, and I'm so excited to read the rest of her books. Yeah, she dove to the top of my favorite authors list like very quickly, and I just love her books so much. So, Penelope Douglas. Question 8 is your newest fictional crush. And again, I have several for this answer. I cannot answer this question without picking Misha from Punk 57. I just love that like bad boy, tattooed, lip piercing, like hates everybody in the world but you kind of vibe. Oh, I just think he's so adorable. I love him so much. Also, going on with that bad boy archetype, I would choose Desmond Flynn from Rhapsodic from the Bargainer series. He's the bargainer, and I just love Des so much. A little cutie. Also, Graham from Shipped. I thought his character was so cute. I loved him, and I loved seeing the romance bloom from this. So, like, I guess I would pick these, like, as my, like, fictional crush. Like, I think they're cute, but they're cute with the people that they're with. Like, I wouldn't want to be with any of them because they belong with those people. So, and then the last one is Ivan from Lukov with Love. Ivan Lukov. Oh, I just loved his character so much, and the little reveals that you get as the story goes of like why you should love him. Such a cutie. Question 9 is your newest favorite character, and I have a few, and I'm sorry that I keep using this book, but Ryan from Punk 57, I just found her character to be like pretty relatable. I mean, she is unlikable, especially in the beginning, but her emotional journey, I did really like her, even though she's unlikable, if that makes sense. Also, Olivia from Tris 6 Venom. I just liked her, like, sass and snark and spunk in this book, and yeah, I just really liked Olivia. And then also, I guess I can use this one. I mean, I'm going to say it anyways, but that is Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames. Nesta hasn't been, like, a favorite character in the previous books, but this book really solidified her as one of my new favorite characters. Especially because you get to be like in her head. In the other books, like you see her from other people's points of view and you don't really know exactly what she's thinking when she does certain things. But being in her head and like seeing her journey in this book definitely put her up as one of my favorite fictional characters. Question 10 is a book that made you cry, and I'm looking at all of the books that I read and like scrolling through the books that I read on Goodreads. I think only one book has made me like legit cry, and that's, again, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is such an emotional journey of a book. Like, it's got ups and downs, and it really explores mental health and like self-hatred, and I've read this book twice so far this year and I've cried both times, and I think it's the only book that made me cry this year so far. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. I definitely have to go with Shipped by Angie Hockman. This was just such a cute read, and I was like smiling and laughing out loud like several times while reading this, and it was just such a fun read. I loved it. Also, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I thought this was super cute and fun and fluffy, and it definitely made me happy. It just was a great summer read, so. And then, of course, another Penelope Douglas book, Birthday Girl. This book made me happy because it was so cute, and it had me like laughing out loud, like snort laughing while I was reading it, and it just made me so happy. It's so cute. Question 12 is the most beautiful Question 12 is the most beautiful book that you bought this year, and I've got a few, but another Penelope Douglas. So Credence, I just think that this cover is really, really gorgeous. I love like the foggy trees, like the pine trees. I just think is so stunning. I love it. I also really like the cover of Black Sun. It's got like that, like, it's not super foily, but it is foiled. Like, it has like a shimmer to it. And like, it's got maps on the end papers. Definitely a beautiful book. I also love the cover of Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. I think this, like, this black mat with a wing, the font of the book, I just think it's stunning. And then also A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I think that this is just like a really cool cover, but also like the most beautiful book. The writing in here is beautiful. Can that count? But I also do really like the cover. All right, and the last question, question 13, is what books do you have to read before the end of the year? Now, obviously, for most of these questions, I've had a Penelope Douglas book as an answer, so I want to read the rest of Penelope Douglas's backlist. So I'm currently reading Bully, which is in the Fall Away series. There's 3 books and 2 novellas for this. 4 books and 2 novellas? I don't know. I'm going to read all of them. So I'm currently reading Bully, and then I'll pick up the other books once I finish this. I also want to get to her Devil's Night series. This is the first book, Corrupt. I think there's 5 books, 4 books and 2 novellas. I'm going to read all of them. And then she also has the book Misconduct, which is a standalone. And I know she's got some releases that are going to be coming out in 2021. So I want to have read her whole backlist before those get released so that when they get released, I can pick them up right away. I also want to get to A Touch of Ruin and A Touch of Malice by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the second book in the A Touch of Darkness, Hades and Persephone retelling, and then A Touch of Malice came out, I think, in May, and so I want to get to these books before the end of the year so I can be caught up on them. And then I also want to get to The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I haven't read a ton of Kristen Hanna, but I'm super interested in this one because it's set in Alaska, and I think that's going to be a really cool setting, and I know that she writes really emotional books, so I'm definitely interested to pick this up before the end of the year. So yeah, those are all of the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. I guess I'm not really freaking out at all because I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot with my reading. I've read a lot of books, a lot of amazing books. I found a new favorite author, and I'm just like more excited for the second half of the year reading wise, rather than like freaking out about things. So I'm excited for it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can let me know by liking and subscribing down below, and leave a comment down below of what your favorite book that you've read so far this year is, because I'd be super curious to hear that. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!